How's it going, everyone? It's me, Vivi, and welcome to another Jak and Daxter related video. So, many of us are wondering about Jak 4, whether it's possible or not, knowing that Naughty Dog moved on especially, right? As explained in the previous Jak and Daxter video, I mentioned two things. We need a new team, which is what I'd prefer and many of you guys as well, perhaps, and Sony's approval, if they would say yes to this new idea of Jak 4 by a new team. Other than Jak 4, what else could we think about? What if the series started fresh, like a reimagining, like Ratchet & Clank PS4? Okay, hear me out. I know a lot of people enjoyed the gameplay and didn't really like the story, but I'm talking about the concept. And looking at Ratchet & Clank PS4 today, I would have much preferred to see a full-on remake. Keep everything the same and just add strafe and upgradable weapons. It would have looked fantastic, running on the engine they used for the PS4 game. But like I've said many times, the PS4 game was a product of the film. Okay, so why should Jak and Daxter, the Precursor Legacy, get a reimagining instead of a remake, keeping everything the same, right? Well, I'm thinking that they could make the Precursor Legacy, the reimagining, even better than the original. I will always love the Precursor Legacy, even more than Jak 2 and Jak 3. You know what, actually? Jak 2 and 3, I keep those ones separate. The first game and those two games, they're like completely different. They have this different atmosphere, right? I keep them separate. Anyways, I'll leave this whole discussion for another video. So, imagine we're getting a reimagining, let's say. Here's 5 things I'd like to see. 1. The same character models, please. A great example of this, they could go with this, the designs for the promotional trailer from back in the day. Looking at these two, they still have that cartoony style. Not this. Number 2. A better tutorial stage. Actually mention the buttons you have to press. For example, Samos, during the gameplay at Sentinel Beach, to smash that box, he tells you to jump and then dive. Okay, but what buttons am I supposed to press? You have the player trying to guess. Okay, but without knowing the controls, it adds a layer of challenge. There's a difference between confusion and difficulty. Number 3. Gol and Maya. More backstory. Extra scenes of the two simply discussing and planning everything. We only had like a couple of scenes and I feel like extra ones would be kinda nice to have. Number 4. Perks. Upgradable jump and techniques. That could add a true layer of challenge. For example, you reach this area and the game tells you that you need this specific move, and to unlock it you need to complete this certain area. Or they could implement a purchasing system. In exchange for precursor orbs, we get special moves. Instead of just obtaining power cells in exchange of 120 orbs, why not exchange precursor orbs for actual new moves, moves which will help us advance through the game. As for the armor system, that pretty much tells us that the health system will be a bit different. What we have now is a heart system. You get hit 3 times, you're dead. As for the armor, some will have special perks. 25% less damage, 50% less damage, all that kind of stuff. Wait, didn't The Lost Frontier have an armor system? Yes, it did. So are we looking at the same thing for this reimagining? Not quite. Maybe we could have like these pieces of armor for the Precursor Legacy. Accessories maybe? Some of the fan base prefers Jak 2 and 3 over the first game. And why? Because they liked the addition of weapons and mods and stuff like that. If they liked the mods from Jak 2, let's say, I think they would like the upgrade system presented in the reimagining. You know, just keep the platforming aspect in Jak 1 present, but just add a few extra little things. Number 5. Of course, the same soundtrack, simply remastered. Wouldn't we all just love that? So guys, leave your own list of 5 things you'd like to see in this reimagining, if it ever happens, of course. Now you see, I'm not asking for too much, I hope not. All I'm wanting is more scenes and an upgrade system. Small nitpick. If they do bring back the victory pose after you collect a power cell, I think they should lessen it. Just make it quick. Kinda like Banjo-Tooie, how you collect Jiggies and Ukulele, the pages. You have the spinning effect, the spiral. I think speedrunners would absolutely love that. Okay, you know what? For the last power cell, for nostalgia's sake, they put the victory dance. Just to show that you've collected all of the power cells of the level. If Jak 4 is not happening, why even hope for for a reimagining. You never know. I know those words sound overrated to you, but you never know. Look at Shadow of the Colossus, a remake by Bluepoint Games. Who would have thought? Now, Shadow of Colossus, it's a remake, right? They're keeping everything the same, just better looking visuals. Some might say, okay, Jak and Daxter had its moment. Dude, just let it die, alright? Others would love the series to continue, to reach this new road. Why not a full-on remake like Crash Bandicoot, for example? Well, Jak and Daxter, the precursor legacy, I feel like it needs extra things, you know, to modernize it. But Crash wasn't modern, it was linear gameplay. Everything was kept the same, yes. But this was wanted, and those 2 million sales proves it. Now about this Crash remake. Yes, everything was kept the same, but they did fix the save system, for example. If we do get a reimagining for Jak, then that means they could change the sequel. That whole time travel mess. Hey, I mean, they could still go to the future. Maybe Core does something and everyone ends up in the future. But would the team decide to go with the same exact story? Jak sending his younger self back in time, causing this causal loop. I would imagine the main villains of the first game being, of course, Gol and Maya, and if we do get a sequel to this reimagining, we have Core, who eventually shows up and causes havoc on Sandover Village. Would you be against this idea? Changing up the story just a little. Naughty Dog was very lucky. They took the risk to change the whole atmosphere, present weapons. Apparently they were influenced by GTA 3. They took the risk and it worked out. As for today, wouldn't it be just a little weird for newcomers if, let's say, they played the first reimagining and then picked up Jak 2 the reimagining, which has a different atmosphere. Complete different atmosphere. We went from a melee weapon, let's say Jak having that sort of thing in the first reimagining, to futuristic guns. And on top of that, having Jak talk in the second game, wouldn't these new players just be like, what? What just happened? Did I miss a game or something? Aha, about Jak's voice. I feel like he shouldn't be mute in the reimagining. Have him actually speak. That right there will make the precursor legacy different from the original one. Some of you might completely disagree and prefer Jak mute. Okay, but in my opinion, I like to see him talk. Many people liked Jak 2 and 3. He was talking in those games, no one said anything. So in other words, will Jak in this reimagining be what people call it edgy, just like how he was in Jak 2? I mean, he went from this innocent boy to I'm a beat up Baron Praxis. One could argue, yes, 2 years of Dark Eco experiment can make one go crazy, but will Jak have a sudden change in personality if they do change up the story, if they do not add, let's say, this Dark Eco experiment? So to give you guys a summary, include some aspects of Jak 2 and 3, but slowly transition into new things. Jak, like I said a few moments ago, he could have a melee weapon in the Precursor Legacy reimagined, I mean. Have them upgradable, maybe. That'd be interesting. As for the difficulty, maybe some people complained that the first game was too easy and hence Jak 2 and its edgy atmosphere. They could make the enemies tougher in the Precursor Legacy. More than one hit. I know the spiders, they would die with more than one hit, but I'm talking about the overall enemies in the game. And I feel like they should already present the basics. What I mean by this is, if Jak is mute, keep him mute. If he speaks, let him speak. Starting from the first game, let him talk. They could even add unused content. Well, Jak 1 didn't really have unused levels. There were unused dialogues, some missions if I'm not mistaken, and I think that's pretty much it. I know Jak 2 had a lot more removed content. As for Jak 3, I'm not too sure. You can find all of these unused dialogues on this website, which I'll leave the link in the description. So guys, leave your own thoughts in the comment section below. I'm sure you guys disagree with some parts mentioned in the video. Some of you will feel like, no, I want Jak to remain mute and then talk in the second game. I want it to be similar. Explain everything you have to say, and as always, I've been VTNVIVI, and thank you for watching.